We move on to the following section, which is what and how much. So, do we give gold or silver in Sadaqat al-Fitr? Do we give a sheep or an animal? Or do we give crops? What is mentioned in the Sunnah when it comes to Zakat al-Fitr? Zakat al-Fitr is mentioned as earlier read to you in Hadith ibn Umar and also in Hadith Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and others, that it should be one sa'. And what is meant by sa'? I mentioned this earlier before in previous lessons, and I said that one sa', it is a measurement by size, like the liters. It's not a measurement by weight, like the pound or the kilograms. So it is or mud. And the mud is what we put in the two cupped hands of a regular, normal human being, a man. So you don't go to Southeast Asia where the people's hands are like this tiny, and you don't select an NBA basketball player with his hands like a big tray. You select the average human being, his hands, whatever he fills up in his hand, and filling it up, not to that level. No, you just put it in deep and come out with it. So you'll find it piled up a little bit here. This is called mud. And 4 mud would constitute a sa'. Of course, if we take this mud as a means of measurement, we will find that we cannot say it is equivalent to so and so of kilograms, because being a measurement of size means that if we put barley, it wouldn't be as heavy as dates, and if we would put wheat, that wouldn't be same as barley, and if we put raisin, the same thing happens. So due to the difference in mass, putting a weight to it is not possible. It differs depending on what you put inside of it, that is the material. So what should it be of? Well, it should be something that is considered to be a staple food, something that can be stored. You cannot give Zakat al-Fitr 1 sa' of strawberries. You can do that from wheat, that is flour, dates, raisin, corn, barley, pastas, rice, beans, all of these things that can be stored and are weighed or measured by size rather than by weight. And this is an act of worship. Therefore, in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, when he named some categories of food, he then indicated that it is a sa' of food and gave examples. Now, people would ask, is it permissible to give it out in the form of cash? And the answer is, it's an issue of dispute. The vast majority of scholars such as the school of Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, the three great schools of thought, say that this is prohibited because it was listed, it was specified at the time of the Prophet ﷺ to be given out in the form of food. Some scholars like Imam Abu Hanifa and those who followed him said that no, money is much better for the poor to utilize. Not only that, it was probably difficult to use money at the time of the Prophet ﷺ because not everyone had cash. So referring them to such staple food would be more convenient. Nowadays, it is difficult, especially if you are in industrial countries like in Europe, where you don't have poor per se. And if you give people who are in need staple food, they would resent it and maybe reject it. So which opinion is the most authentic? First of all, at the time of the, so they had money. And we know different hadiths where the Prophet ﷺ gave a dinar to one of his companions to buy a sheep from the market, and he went and bought a sheep for 1 dinar. Then another guy in the way bought it from him for 2 dinars. So he went back to the market and bought another sheep for a dinar and came back to the Prophet ﷺ with the dinar he gave him, which is a capital, and a sheep, the Prophet. So the Prophet was happy with that ﷺ, and made dua for him. This means that they had money, they had cash. It's mentioned in the Quran. وَمِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ مَنْ إِنْ تَأْمَنْهُ, and so on. So you can't say that this is or this was more convenient because you don't have any proof on that. Not only that, due to the fact that one sa' differs in weight, it also differs in value. So if I have in front of me 6 containers, each one is dates of barley, of wheat, of raisins, of rice, would the price be the same of these 5 containers? The answer is definitely not. Some is more expensive than the other. So when I want to give Zakatul Fitr, which price should I choose? And on what basis? You tell me choose the highest. Why? Why not the lowest? So again, you'll put yourself in a dilemma which Islam does not want you to put yourself in. It's exactly like when people come for Hajj and they want to sacrifice the qurbani, as they call it in Urdu. We call it in Arabic udhiyah, the sheep. So if someone says, well, listen, every year we slaughter a sheep. How about this year we slaughter 100 chicken? People would take that as a dilemma. Or someone says, why choose something that is cheap? I have a horse that is $10,000 worth. I'm gonna slaughter it and consider it to be udhiyah. Is this applicable? The answer is definitely not. It's not up to you and me to decide what to slaughter, what to sacrifice, what to give in zakat. This is something that was prescribed by the Sharia. It was the Prophet himself ﷺ who said, give zakatul fitr as 1 sa' of food, of dates, of wheat, of barley, of aqt, dried milk. This is what he had ordered us So we should not divert and choose something else. Now, the people would usually complain and say, Sheikh, we always see the poor, especially in Muslim countries, when we give them rice or dates or wheat, that they go and sell it with a cheaper price to the wholesalers and take cash for it, while the wholesalers would sell the rice again to someone who wants to give Zakat al-Fitr. So actually they are wasting and losing money. If we were to give them 12 riyals for the Zakat al-Fitr, it would have been more profitable for them than to take the rice and sell it for 10, and then the wholesalers, the merchants, sell it again for 11 or for 12. Well, you're right, but first of all, most likely those who are selling it, they are not the truly needy people. If you go to really needy people who cannot afford to eat, who fail to find a meal for today's food, these people will not sell it. Be hungry. You're giving your Zakat al-Fitr to people who are well off. If you go to industrial countries in Europe and the US, and people resent the fact that you give them staple food, this is a big indication that they're not needy. Look for the homeless. Look for those who do not have anything, who would appreciate whatever you give them because they are truly poor and needy. Besides, if your intention is to be kind to the people, to the poor, you're more than welcome to be. So when you give this sa' of zakat al-fitr to the poor, in this case, there's no problem none whatsoever to give them charity as well. So your zakat is 2.125 kilograms of rice. Give with them, give with it some money if you wish to the poor. Give them cash, $20, $30. There's no problem in that. But do not divert from the sunnah of the Prophet alayhi as-salatu was-salam. Okay, what else? Time. Okay, before we go to time, we said that how much is one sa'? So nowadays, Sheikh, what do you advise? Well, in Saudi Arabia and many Muslim countries, their staple food that they depend upon is rice. And the scholars here measured one sa' of rice, and they came up with a container, and when they filled it up with rice, which is one sa', they measured the weight of that rice, and they found that it is equivalent to 2 kilograms, 0.125 grams of rice. So it's 2.125 grams of rice, and this is a sa'. And if you give 3 kilograms of any staple food, that would be more than what is needed, and the extra would be a charity, insha'Allah azza